There we go. As the recording has started, welcome again, everyone. My name is Alessandro Pietrobon. I am the Director of Analytics at ONA, and I'm very delighted to be here today to introduce you to our platform, Akuko. And I'm going to get started and share a few slides for us to go through this interactive demo session. And there we go. Okay. I hope that this is working right now, and then you're able to see my presentation. Yeah, great. While I'm going to be the lead person in this presentation for today, there is a question and answer tab open on your Zoom, so feel free to shoot some questions and ask if there's anything. There we go, so that people can handle. There we go. Okay, I'll get started. So we don't have a lot of time. We're trying to spend the next, 50 minutes now talking about Akuko. We're going to follow these points. We're going to start with this presentation. I'm going to walk you through what is Akuko as a platform and why it exists, but maybe interestingly, what it is that, what is some type of tools, what are the kinds of things that you can build using Akuko. I'm going to give you a high-level overview of how to interact with the platform. And then for the most exciting part, I'm going to give you a quick demo of how to build a sample data story in minutes using Akuko. The reminder or the disclaimer is that this webinar is meant to be an introduction, is meant for you to get a sense of the capabilities of the tools. It is not exactly a training. As a result, some of the things, especially during the demo, might feel a little bit quick or a little bit rushed. Please bear with us. We're just trying to make sure that you can see what is possible with people that have a little bit of experience using the tool. And then obviously there will be different content to go slowly so that you can make sure that you can create your own stories very easily. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk a little bit about what is Akuko. So Akuko is a data storytelling platform that ONA has developed. It can be seen as a data publishing tool. It's a way for you to take your data and make it available to the world. The world might be people within your organizations, or it might be decision makers, or it might be third-party donors, audiences overall that are interested in seeing, exploring, analyzing, and understanding your data. And Akuko has been built by us, by ONA, and it means Igbo. It means story in Igbo, a Nigerian language. Akuko is a story, and the reason we needed to make a story is because in our work supporting organizations in the development sectors for over 10 years, what we have learned is that data by itself, a number is not enough. A map on its own is not enough. We want to be able to use our data to tell stories, to help understand the context, to help understand the realities on the ground of the work that organizations like all of you who are attending us today work in. And so having worked with a lot of tools, both open and closed source, we've built some frustration on the business development, business intelligence tooling that we've seen available. In particular, there are fantastic tools like your Power BIs, like your Tableau, some of them open source, like your Superset, and then there are fantastic mapping tools such as QGIS or Esri and others. We found it very difficult, though, using any of these tools to do three things. And the first thing is really to combine, is to weave in the narrative, the story, and the charts, to be able to give appropriate context to the data, to be able to provide any user who is not so familiar with an overview. Every time you see a dashboard, it looks like something that everybody needs to be familiar with to read every chart. While if you read a news article, then that feels more like a story, but it often doesn't have any interactivity. It might have a picture, it might have a chart. So we wanted to make it easy to combine narrative and charts to give appropriate context. We wanted to make it easy to combine traditional BI, so charting, reporting from tables, with mapping. Make it easy to create highly sophisticated maps on top of your data that users can interact with and understand spatially. And third, but not least, is make it easy to share. Make it easy to make your content accessible to others, again, both internally within your organization, but definitely with the public, without the need for a lot of budget and without the need for a lot of coding experience to develop specific custom websites. So that's why we built it. It's really like came from desire of we wanted to serve and we didn't find anything, so we ended up building. And as a reminder, who are these builders that build? Akuko fits within the suite of software products that Ona, our company, develops and maintains. So Ona has been in the business for over 10 years, designing software products and services for organizations and development sectors. And many of you hopefully will be familiar with our flagship product, our data collection product called Ona Data, which is a platform used for data collection offline and used by thousands of organizations globally, enabling offline data collection, real-time monitoring, and part of the open source ODK community. And then some of you may be familiar, it's definitely not the topic for today's discussion, but Ona also maintains a digital health platform specifically, designed specifically for health workers operating in low connectivity environments. This platform is another global good that Ona supports called OpenSRP. And then on top of the data, both of these are data collection tools that can be used. And we've learned that it's very important to then use the data, keep the data, make it accessible. And that's where Ona has created Akuko, which is the platform that we are talking about today. And we've been working on for the past 3 years now. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about what Akuko is in general, what is the concept, fantastic. But what does it look like to do stuff with Akuko? What is the kind of things that we can build using the platform? Well, anytime you build a generic tool, people can do a lot of different things. In principle, one way to categorize is to think of them as 4 things. The first thing you can build are data stories, data dashboard, map apps, or data portals. And I'm going to walk us through kind of what that means. But these are not specific. Something can be a little bit of everything. And we just want to show you, essentially, once you use a tool that is as generic and as powerful as Akuko, these are all the variety of outputs that you're able to produce. So what do we mean when we see a data story? What we mean is this combination of text and charts. So you see this in this little animation. It's a way for you to create a version of a blog, a version of a story that is readable, that is clean and includes some narrative, and that has this element of weaving together things like text, things like maps, things like charts. And that helps you visualize your data in your context. So you're seeing this in this little animation here, and I will show you an example. There we go. A little bit of what this kind of visualization means. You see, I have a little bit of text here, and we're going to look at one more during the demo, but I have some charts, I have some dates. This is a COVID map that we've all seen throughout the times of the pandemic. And you can see that I have a map, and together with my map, I have all of these interesting pop-ups, interesting information regarding data for the various countries. I can see vaccination rates. I can see in this chart faceted view of the performance of the different, in this case, geographic areas, regions, as divided by WHO. And here we can see, for example, tables, what's happening with vaccines, which vaccines are used, or even I was vaccinated with the AstraZeneca. So if I take this example, we can see what are all the countries that were using the AstraZeneca vaccine. And so I have a little bit of interactivity. I have my little maps. I have these charts, and then I can add to that text to present to me and tell me what this is and what it means. It feels, and we've taken inspiration for this from the New York Times, actually. So a lot of creation of stories about creating reports is about making your data speak. And that's the first example. I'm going to move, and maybe I can try to do it this way so that I can interact. The second type of tools that we end up very often building are data dashboards. And A data dashboard is a place for exploration, is where a user can come and using filters or using interactivity can find insights. From the data, very often the data gets updated on a regular basis, so we want to be able to investigate, understand the insights. And we do that by making it very easy to combine different charts in different components. So you see this little image using layouts, which is a way that we use in Akuko to organize the content. We allow drilling down, we allow dynamic filters, and we allow you to specify how to create each individual component so that it produces your data, it displays your data effectively. And what I mean by that is here would be an example. You can see even here, even though this is a dashboard, we have provided a lot of text for context. And here we're talking about vector insecticide resistance. And I can go, I am based in Kenya right now. And I can go and see data from Kenya, and I can see data from 2018. And there we go. And just by generating these insights, I have access to a different set of charts that are telling me what is happening in Kenya, what are the different types of insecticides, class, and what kind of resistance we are getting versus malaria. And using my filters here, I can go and I can look at specific types. You see, let's see what's happening with pyretoids. And there we go. And I can see the insecticide class, and as a result, what are the insecticide type for all of them. I can check what are the data related to confirmed or possible resistance. So here again, and through these filters, I can go and take the data really from years and years before. I can subset specifically as a particular time interval, and you can see that all my charts are getting updated immediately. And here, using this map, I can even go and see where these cases of malaria and insecticide resistance have been displayed. So I have access to this little map, and I can go and see that in Kenya, malaria resistance is tracked in the zones near Lake Victoria, or in this case, near the coast. So all of this is a concept of a place where you can have, through buttons, really interactive data displays and really enable users to find the data that they're looking for, understand, and explore. And that's what we mean when we say a data dashboard. And let's see if I can go back to my slide for the next slide on this. The third piece, which we are not going to go into a lot of detail today, but is worth talking about, is map apps. So you've seen a few little maps embedded within the application, embedded where I was showing, but I can show you a couple of examples here. Here we go, of what we mean when we talk about a little map application. So this is an application where we can provide data that is extremely geolocated. What you're looking at here is an example. We worked in Cote d'Ivoire to map the availability of service points. In this case, we're looking at health facilities. And so for each location, I can check and I can get detail of my location. And this is useful to provide information such as the times of operation, such as contact information, if available, as well as reviews, if available, which in this case are not. So it's a light version of a Google Maps. And this is particularly exciting because these map apps that we've designed, I'm going to make it smaller and smaller, and you can see that it perfectly resizes. So the application is designed to be mobile responsive. This you can operate from your phone as well. And then see, now my GPS location is not relevant. So I'm not going to point it to my GPS location, but we can point and we can see what are the areas of interest, what is happening where, close to where I live, and we can see how we've created this for different types of sites. In this case, we can see the locations of schools, and we can see details for the schools that are in my area and that I can access. And all of this has been built using the same Akuko interface. So while this looks very different than a dashboard, it's built exactly using the same tool. So I'm going to zoom back out, and you can see how quickly this responds, and we can look for tribunals or police stations in this case. And all of that information is accessible to me, even overlaying data from OSM. You can see, I see the network, I see the grid of of roads, the road network, as well as other areas of interest that are pulled from the OSM Mapbox library. And so that's an example, and it's a rapid one again, of the kinds of things that we can build when we talk about map applications. They are map-centric interfaces, and they let you with buttons, as I was showing you, and context, really interact data that we can collect. The data here comes from actual surveys, and we augment it with data, for example, from OSM. And then last but not least, I'm a little conscious of time, we bring it all together when we take, instead of thinking of building a single dashboard, every time we run a campaign, our clients ask us, can you help us build a dashboard? The answer is obviously yes, we can build a dashboard. But nowadays with Akuko, we can go beyond it, and we can create an actual portal. We can create a little website that creates interlocking and linked tools, actually, different dashboards that all make sense together to tell a cohesive story or to provide an overview of a specific project. In this case, this is particularly close to my heart because it's a public-facing website that we have developed together with UNICEF to help track the quality of the nationally determined contributions. So the climate change commitments that each country makes. I'm going to show you how this works. I'm actually going to wait for it to reload. And at a global website, NDCs for every child.unicef.org, you see that by going to this website, which is actually a UNICEF website, what we access is an entire portal created using Akuko. You can see here the text. We are describing what the NDCs are. We are describing who is to use the platform, and then we can link a series of tools that have been created. And all of them have been created using Akuko. So for example, we can go here and we can go do a little deep dive on the status of a specific country. So now I can see, as this loads in a second, there we go. We can see the assessments of United Kingdom, how they've been doing according to the child sensitivity of their NDCs. And then if I'm interested in a different country, I'm going to go here. And again, I'm going to go to Kenya because I'm based in Kenya. And then just giving it 1 second. If my internet allows, we will see, there we go. And the map has this wonderful animation. It repositions around Kenya. And now I can see the data for Kenya. And I can see how the assessment has done. I can see the various dimensions as well as link to document. So here, using this, I can go and see the actual NDC document from Kenya. And so all of this, you don't think of this as a dashboard, but it is an interactive tool that links together dashboards, stories, text. So all of these elements that you're seeing right now are all built entirely using Akuko. It takes more than 1 hour to do this, but that's why we've built it, is to help you bring together your data and then build something that, even though it looks very professional and it looks well branded, it uses a UNICEF logos, it does not look like ONA in this case. We can help you integrate your pictures, add links, but do all of this with a no-code environment. Okay, so what do I mean by low-code environment? Let's go back and look at what it means for me to sign up and start using this application. So we recommend you sign up at akuko.io. You'll see a little sign-up link. You'll create your own account. And then you will see that we have 3 pricing tiers. Obviously, we want most users to start with a free account. And then for more advanced features, such as database connections and private spaces, we have a dedicated team accounts. And then for the for the option to use branded portals, a number of users and dedicated support, we offer enterprise subscriptions. Please reach out so that we can talk about how to make this work best for you. So now that I'm done with, we lost power for 1 second. That's perfect timing. Let's see. Evans, can you confirm if you can still see me or hear me? I'm going to continue sharing from my backup. Great. Apologies. We always love when this happens. There we go. So moving on. How do we interact with the application? How can we help you use it once you start? So as you will see in the demo, interacting with your data in Akuko is something that we think is quite simple. The first step is for you to connect to your data source. So Akuko is a data visualization. It's a presentation tool. It is not designed as a data storage or data collection tool. You have your data and you bring it. And so you connect your data to your data sources. And that's going to be your first step. Oh, there we go. And then the second is you're going to use a low-code or a no-code interface to engage with the content. And we're going to see that. And so you're going to be able to create content using different components, maps, as we talked about, charts, filters, text, and so forth. So we create a series of components that you can access to create your content. And then once you've created your content, you can share it. As simple as that, you can share the content via links, both privately and internally. And you can collaborate with your team in a private space. And that's it. So this is what we try to do. And let's see if we can turn this in practice in 20 minutes or so. So this is an example of a post, of a story that has been created using Akuko. I've taken a data set that is actually very famous in data science, and we are trying to tell a little bit of a story and create opportunities for users to experiment and to engage with data from the Titanic disaster, which is an unfortunate circumstance, but an example of what we mean when we say we can create text. We can even reference a data source here, data comes from Kaggle. And then you can see here that I have my little interactive set where I can engage and I can see how many passengers I'm looking at. I can see the survival rate. I can start to do some analysis and be like, oh, look, it looks like the female had a higher survival rate compared to the males, which is sort of what you would expect. And then here through this filters, we can look at things like passenger class, and you can see that all of my charts are updating by passenger class. This is what's happened in second class. This is what happens in third class, and so forth. So the data in itself does not matter. The example. Oh, I lost my power again. Let's hope that this comes back. There we go. The actual data does not matter too much, even though we can have a very fun time examining this, but let's see what it means to create it, okay? So what I have right now, what I will show you, actually, I'm gonna pull this up in my Excel, is my original data source. And I need to share a different screen, so you will allow me to share this just now. And let me share my entire screen. Go. So here's the data set that I have, and it's a data set that includes the name of the passengers, as we mentioned, whether they survived or not, a little ID, and things like the passenger class, right? This is just the CSV file that I have, and this is my data. This is the data that I'm going to use to create the content. Wonderful. So what am I going to do in Akuko now? I have this, I want to create something similar to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to my private Akuko space in this case, for the sake of the demo. And here, and the first things that you're going to see is this is your private space. This is the list of all the posts that I have been creating for demo purposes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by looking at the data sources. See, I'm going to delete this one because we don't need it. And I'm going to show you how to create this from scratch. So now I'm going to load a new source. The new source, again, is something that allows me to load my data that I already have. And you can see that we can connect to different types of data sources here. For simplicity right now, we will load our CSV, and I'm going to upload the CSV from my machine. And there we go. And I'm going to click upload, and this is going to upload. Wonderful. And now I can check. So all the things that were columns in my sheet are now dimensions. And it should look familiar to you if you built things like pivot tables in Excel. You specify what your types of dimensions are, and all of these are the columns. I can even add a little label for them. We're not going to go into details on this right now, while the measures are the aggregations. Any count, any sum, any average, any computation done on top of your data is recorded here as your measures. So great. So I'm going to call this is going to be my Titanic data set from CSV. This is data set for demo. Wonderful. There we go. I'm going to save this. And now as I go back into my list of sources, this I don't need. There we go. I have my little data set. I have a description. I know it's CSV. Beautiful. So I have my data source. Check. Now let's go and build some content with this data source. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my post and I'm going to hit new post. And now I'm going to be faced with this no-code interface that you use to engage, to create content in Akuko. You can see I have my little new post here, and all that I'm going to do is I'm going to try and reproduce the final post that I was showing you earlier. So now, instead of Titanic demo, the original post, this is the demo, the live post. And you can see that as I type, my title is being updated. That's wonderful. And not only do I want a title, for example, I can add a little subtitle. I'm going to hit save because saving is always good practice. And I can see that now I have a little bit of content here. Wonderful. The first thing that I want to add to provide a little bit of content to my story is this image. So I'm going to add here from the menu on the side, I'm going to add an image component. So now let me go and load the image component that I have right here. And this is my image. Oh, and I am losing power again. We are in a particularly difficult day. Let's see if this reconnects here. Screen sharing was stopped. I'm going to try and share. Apologies. I'm going to try and share from here. There we go. And this is the original post, which is not the one that I needed to share. Let's share the other one. And this one. There we go. So here I'm going to load from my files. I loaded the Titanic image. Wonderful. And I am even going to add a little bit of a description to this image. I'm going to hit upload. The image was uploaded successfully, and there you go. I'm going to hit save again, and you can see now I have my beautiful image of the Titanic. Great. So next, I'm going to load the text. So if you remember, there is a little bit of text under here. So I'm going to load that as a text component. The text interface in Markdown is really, I can type whatever I need, and it'll immediately be visible here in your text. So here for ease of reproduction, I'm going to paste the content that I have in my other demo post so that I can include the descriptions as well as links to the data set. And this text is formatted using Markdown language. If you're not familiar, you can click here and find details on how to create content in Markdown. Now, look at that. I already have my little picture. I already have my little text. Now, the next step is going to be to create some charts. Let's start to create some content. So before even creating charts, I am going to create a layout. The layout is my container space. It's something that is going to give me the areas where I'm going to enter my reports. So here, for example, I'm going to add a number. And inside this number, the number is where I need to start pull from the sources. Now I can link my component to my Titanic dataset. And this Titanic dataset, all that I'm going to need to pull up here, for example, is going to be the count. And all that I'm trying to reproduce here in the title, I will see total passengers in my dataset. There you go. So now I know that I have 891 passengers in my dataset. Beautiful. So if I can keep going, then we start to look at how the data should, what other things we want to add here. So the first thing that I'm going to add is a chart. And this chart is, again, going to pull from the same source. And now this chart is going to be a stacked bar. And what I'm going to look at is for all of my data. In this case, again, I'm going to look at the count of passengers. And here's where this starts to become interesting. I'm going to group them by, I'm going to separate whether the passengers have survived or not. there you go. I have my zeros and the ones based on whether they survived. The zeros are the unfortunate ones that didn't make it, so I'm going to color this in red. The ones are the ones that made it through, so I'm going to color this in blue. There we go. And now I have a little bit of a chart. It has the details. It needs a couple of things. It needs a title for this chart to make sense to me. And then in the Style tab, I can play around and help with things like the padding, but the most important things, there we go, that I was looking at right now is to adjust the height. By adjusting the height, I'm going to make this a little bit narrower and I'm going to make this a little bit closer. There we go, save. Perfect. Now, the second piece that I'm going to do is I'm going to add another layout to start and do our extra analysis here. Now that I have the passengers, I have the survival rate. Let us move on and see how we break down this data. So again, I'm going to add another set of charts here. And this chart, I'm going to configure. It's still going to pull from my Titanic dataset as a source. Beautiful. Now, the interesting analysis we want to do is to break down the survival by gender. Okay, so again, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to select a type. This is going to be stacked again, but I want it as a column because it's going to be vertical. And here, this is where I'm going to say if this is by gender or by sex. I'm going to use sex as a dimension. This is going to be my separation for the various columns. And then on top of that, I'm going to add my count. There we go. So now I can see all the females and all the males. I've got to style it a little bit for this to make sense. I'm going to group by again, by whether the passengers survived or not. There we go. So now we're looking at the zeros and the ones as we did before. And all that I have to do to style the zeros and the ones here is, again, to put my zeros in red. So we can show that the zeros, unfortunately, did not make it. And style the ones in blue. There we go. Maybe I go back and I choose the same red that I was using earlier for a little bit of consistency. Beautiful. So now I have this chart that provides me the count of male that survived or didn't, or the count of female that survived or didn't. Now, some analyses are good like this. Very often when you're comparing, though, you don't want to compare numbers in the absolute because this is misleading. You can say 100 males survived versus 230 females survived, but that is not enough for us to get a sense of the rate of the actual survival ability by gender. So I'm going to toggle this little toggle here, and I can see that now the data is as a percentage. So I can see that actually 74% of females survived, 26% of female did not, while 81% of male did not survive, and 19% survived. So now I have more of an apples to apples comparison. I can see 74% survived versus 19 that didn't. And I can even click either of these toggles to see the data only for the subset that we are interested in. And then in the interest of styling, what we're going to play around with, I was doing a little bit earlier, is we're going to play with the padding because you can see that this chart was a little bit too much to the right for my likings. There we go. Now I have my little survival by gender fully styled. Now, from the original post that we've been trying to reproduce, there are two more charts that we need to create, but using a very, very nifty Akuko feature, what we are going to do is we are not going to try and recreate them from scratch, as you've seen. All that we're going to do is we're going to right click and we're going to copy. And now I have a copy of the chart. Now, what do I do with a copy of the chart? Well, I have a starting point for my next analysis. So now instead of breaking this down by gender, now we want to break this down by passenger class. So now that I have this one that has been recreated, I'm going to update my configurations. I'm going to call this survival by class. And all that I need to change is instead of breaking this down by sex, I need to break this down by passenger class. And there you go. Here's my chart. Very ready in seconds. And I'm going to do this again. right click, hit copy. I have a copy. I'm going to position my copy inside of my layout. And then the last ones that we are looking for the comparison is by age category. And there you go. Again, I'm going to update, and I'm going to update this by age category. And 1, 2, 3. Now I can break down and I can see all of this information. I can see who survived, but also what's the percentage of children as opposed to the percentage of elderly, which in 1912 meant 50 or over. Great. Now, the last thing before my job is complete is to make this interactive. To make this interactive, what I tend to want is to add a few filters. So let's do that. I'm going to add an actual filter. In this case, I'm going to add a filter component. I'm going to show you. I will position it a little bit further up here, if I can. There we go. Now that I have this filter component, my filter is also going to apply to the Titanic dataset and the kind of filters that I am looking for example, I'm going to add a filter. There we go. Here it is. And the filters that I'm interested in is so that we can add some interactivity. And I'm going to have this by sex, which is great. And I'm going to expose it so that the users can see it. There you go. So now I have my sex filter, female or male. Great. Now that I have one, I'm going to add another one. For the sake of interactivity, I'm going to add the passenger class here. And again, I'm going to expose it. Some of these filters you might want hidden depending on what you're trying to demonstrate. And then last but not least, I'm going to add the age category. There we go. Now that I have my filters set up and I make sure that all of them are exposed, I can even select multiple filter values. We can show what this means in a second. All that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that these filters apply to all of the components because I want all of my little charts to update based on these filters. So I'm going to apply the filters. There we go. And if I've done my job correctly, now we can see that I can select gender, I can select passenger class, and if I select any of them, all of my charts with a little bit of luck should update. Let's see. Let me save and refresh. Since the power is an issue today, we are applying the filters. And you can see that just by refreshing, we should have this applied. And let's see. I'm going to do just a little bit of checks. There we go. It's just slow. Okay. So it is my internet, it's not the content. Let's see if now I select female. I give it 1 second. There we go. Hallelujah. I can see that now all of my charts are updating based on the filter that I selected. Again, slow internet does not help, but the interactivity is there. Now I can filter my data by passenger class, and I can even apply more than one filters at a time. So in this case, we had selected multiple values, so I can select 3 age categories at once and see the total numbers, for example, for all of them that I was looking at. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to reset my filters, go back to 0, and I have my little post. So now what can I do with this post? This is an interesting analysis. It's good for me. I have it. I can reference it. Well, this becomes particularly interesting when we start to want to share it. So to share it, we access this menu on the top left, and you can see that I have a few options. But the most interesting thing, the first thing that I can do is publish this post, which is the example that I would like to show you today. So now that I have published this post, the post is uniquely identified by its URL. I'm going to go out of what's called the edit mode. I can see my post. I can see all the content. And I can take now this URL and in here, I can paste it and I can share it with anybody. So I'm going to add this to the chat for everyone. So now you have access through this unique link that we just created together. And with one click, anybody that has access to the web can access this post. By default, the posts are private. They are shared with you and with your team. But with one click, as I just demonstrated, you can make this available and share with the world. And this, for now, concludes our quick live demo. We have, in summary, what have we done? What have we achieved? So we've done a few things in the last 15 minutes or so. We have taken our data and we've created the sources. We've created one source for the Titanic data set. The source has dimension, that has measures. And then using this data, we have created content. We created a post. The post includes text, images, and charts. And we have organized the post using layouts. We've moved things, 2 things, 3 things. And then last but not least, we have added these filters for interactive exploration. And I could even add to the slide, we have made it easy for anybody to share and to access the content via sharing. So I hope that this has been interesting and that you've learned a few things about Akuko in the last few minutes. And this opens the Q&A section of the presentation. I will pause my screen sharing for a little bit and then open up for questions. Do we have any questions outstanding from the Q&A? So I see that some questions have been answered. Can we share the data set? The answer, yes. I see that Fua has already answered. That's wonderful. Thank you. The dataset is public and can be accessed from Kaggle, as you've seen. And the recording will be shared, will be available. Yes. Great. So let's see. Are there any other questions that I have missed, or Q&A or chat elements? Anybody, if you're interested, or you're asking us specific questions regarding the application, regarding the usage, or regarding ONA in general, feel free to raise your hand. We can take those questions now live, or to add them to the chat. There we go. You can also raise your hand for questions. Do we need to sign in with an ONA user? That's a fantastic question. Thank you. Let me open this up so that I can show how that works. The short answer is right now, the 2 platforms are independent. I will go back to sharing my screen so that we can look at this, and I'm going to demonstrate how to log in. So now I'm going to go at akuko.io, and then actually, yeah, you can sign up if you don't have any account, or you can sign in. In my case, I have an account. It's going to take me to the login page. Now I might already be logged in, so this is not really going to work. Now, there you go. So it's asking me for my login information. And as you can see here, you register independently with your email and password. You create a new user account for Akuko right now. We do have plans to make the integration easier, so you have a version of a single sign-on with your own account. We do not have that ready yet, but it is something that we are working on. I hope that answers your question. Great. Awesome. And let's see if there are anything else that's of interest. Is there? Yes, there's a hand. Please come.
Can you please repeat us how do you connect the data set on the platform?
Absolutely, gladly. So let me show you. So as I log in, let me show you, oops, your interface, your normal interface. I'm going to go is through your dashboard. So the way the content is organized within Akuko is there are different organizations. So I have access to many because as working at ONA, we work with a lot of colleagues. Now within each organization, the content is separated into spaces. The space is the homepage that you have for your team. Within the space, which is what you usually use, what you're usually going to create content over, you have access to the list of posts. So I did my demo because everybody has a private space as they log in, but these are all shared spaces where you can collaborate with your team members, with colleagues, with friends, with external collaborators. And then within your spaces, you have access to sources. Sources are the set of data that you have connected to Akuko, and they can be of very different types. So the way that you interact, you connect with your data is you create a new source. And now once you create a new source, what you're going to do is you're going to be able to connect with data of different types. So this is what happens. Here, you can select which data you're trying to connect. So you're going to see that you have some static data files, data sets like CSV or Parquet or GeoJSON. And then you have even database connections, for example, Postgres. Or ClickHouse or MySQL. Those are the ones that we support at the moment. They'll be more in the future. So that's where you would enter your credentials if you have your data hosted in a database. Akuko is not a database, it's a data visualization tool. So here is where you would connect. You would connect to a specific data table. So it's a table that lives within a schema, and you provide the credentials to connect to this data source. While in the example that I showed, we looked at a static data file, so I was able to upload directly from my machine or to load from a public URL. But all of those are options that are available to you. You can even ingest your data directly from OnaData if you know the specific form ID and you have the API token. All of these are things that are currently supported. Does that answer your question?
I think it did.
Yeah, okay, great. Mosima is asking if system is independent for now, how do we benefit from our ONA package enterprise? That is correct. So the systems are independent, and we are working hard to make it easier to navigate. As you can see, you can load your data, you can collect data in OnaData. It might be a topic for a different demo, and you will be able to load the data here. Accessing the API token, I really encourage you to ask our support colleagues. Evans is here. I could open up and show you, but it is within the OnaData application. It's a way for you to join and show the data. But you can access the API token and load data from OnaData onto here. In terms of what does it mean for all of ONA as a package? Well, this is when we have conversations. We're interested in understanding what your needs are. So we would love for you to reach out so we can understand what we can offer and what the needs are for you to use the two tools together. It happens very often that people collect the data and then they need better ways of visualizing. That's kind of why we built Akuko. So we're really excited to hear about what your needs will be, Mosima, and very happy to have that conversation. What we added to the slides is a link to our email, biz@ona.io, where our colleagues will respond and try and understand really what your specific needs are and see if we can come up with a specific package. There is also an Akuko Slack organization that is getting quite active, and you can ask help. You can connect with others that are using Akuko, and you can get more information on the updates on the platform. Great. Many thanks. Oh, you're super welcome. Wonderful. Are there any other impending questions from the team? Okay, I see we are closing the answers. Fantastic. Then if I think we've done marvelously on time, and I'm going to pause here and return it back to you, Evans, for closing.
Right, great. Thank you so much, Ali, for taking on this session. I think the only remarks from my end is, yes, we will share the recording as well as the content that has been covered. In addition to that, we do have a Slack workspace. We're building a community currently, so we'll be sharing a link as well if you're interested in joining And in case maybe any other questions come up when you are using the platform, you can feel free to reach out to us there. We also do have the email biz@honor.io. I think Ali might have touched on that. So in case you have any questions around the product, or if you have a unique use case and you want to talk to us about it, please feel free to get in touch via that email. Otherwise, thank you all so much for taking time to attend. We don't take it for granted. We know you'd be doing something else, but we're really grateful that you took time to just attend this webinar and to hear more about Akuko. So we will definitely keep in touch. Thank you so much, wherever you are in whatever time zone. We wish you a lovely day or a lovely evening. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.